Welcome to Postgame Live. I'm here with Johnny Page after an unbelievable comeback from the Eagles, and we're just gonna wing it here because I had all my talking points ready after the first half, and I'm just gonna throw that in the bin, as they say over the pond there. But I want to just get your first takes, Johnny, as we get people in here for this post game. And if you guys have any comments, throw them in the chat. We'd love to discuss anything you guys want to bring up.
Yeah, man. What the hell? Apologies, I'm like extremely ill, so if I'm just sniffling throughout this thing, I that was probably the weirdest game I think I've seen in a while, Eric. So this is my first post game this year. So the way I like to do post game is let's just get it all out there. We obviously try to analyse, but without the all 22, we're all shooting darts here, but we're all shooting blanks or whatever. So my gut tells me it was like the worst offensive game plan I've ever seen in the first half. And then at halftime, I know everyone talks about halftime adjustments being overrated, but the offense was basically like, let's just throw everything in the bin that we've worked on the past 2.5 weeks, and let's just go back and play shotgun spread, QB run game, throw the ball outside the numbers. It was just like a complete change. And then I don't know if the defense is anything that different or the Rams sort of screwed up a few times. I don't think the defense played that well. And then I suddenly see we had like 26 points unanswered. And I'm like, oh, maybe the defense did play well, but I don't know. It felt like they just got a bit lucky with two blocked field goals and the offense decided to play extremely well second half. Like, how the hell would you analyze that? I mean, what? Yeah, time. It was one of the worst offensive first halves I think I've ever seen. And then they win.
I'm speechless, and this is going to be really interesting to look at the tape. Very hard in the moment to analyze, especially with how topsy turvy the game was. And remember, they came out in the second half and gave up the sack fumble right away. And correct me if I'm wrong, that was still prior, was it not?
Yes, and then they benched Pryor after that. I'm pretty sure Pryor was like, right, that's it, that's done.
And then they
Yeah,
just decided like, oh, I remember we have AJ, and then he just took over the game. So I'm repping the AJ
oh
jersey
man,
here.
it's yeah. I'm like you, Eric. I say this a lot on shows. Like I never want to doubt coaches because they know more than us. But then halfway through the second half, I put him a Discord and I was half joking, half not. Like I think I could call this offense. I think I could. Like I'm not kidding. It was so obvious that Emmanuel Forbes is not very good, and it's so obvious when you get AJ Brown 1-on-1, just throw him the ball. Like come back, curl out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just take your chances. Like I don't know, man. The first half was so bad. I've sort of forgotten how bad it was. Um,
Isn't it strange? Like, why does it take that? Like, you got to hit rock bottom
yeah,
before you decide. All right, now we're gonna flip the switch.
yeah. It really did feel like people talk about being conservative, and it almost wasn't even that. It was just a complete change. Like I cannot wait to watch this and look at the numbers. I am pretty sure they just binned 12 personnel, and I'm pretty sure they binned anything condensed. Like the first half, there was a run in the I think it was either the start of the second half or the end of the second quarter when it was just under center of a fullback and Barkley was just running and into no one in the middle, and I was like, what are we doing? Like I'm not anti under center run plays, I'm not anti fullback, but it's like it's just the way this team is built, it just doesn't suit it. Like they are a shotgun run team because they've got all the QB read stuff they can do. They should live in shotgun, live in empty occasionally. You might go under center occasionally just to mix things up, give the defense something else to worry about, put something on film, but don't make it like your identity. Like finally they got QB run game going, like two QB draws in a row. They always had a couple of big read option plays. Like where the hell was that early on? I don't know how to analyze a game like that. It really did feel like the offense just completely changed in the second half.
And you were the one banging the drum last week where everyone is crapping on the passing game, and you're like, hey guys, how about our historic run game that
It's
has seemed to
mad.
vanish, and they're just
Yeah.
running these vanilla inside zones, inviting a bunch of guys in the box. And I still have concerns over the run game.
Oh,
They just
massive.
they need more bells and whistles. The blocking is not there. I
No.
gotta say, and I'm gonna be objective about this. Looking back on film, my first impression, Barkley, he's doing a lot of this. It looks like he's
Yeah.
back to Giants Barkley, whereas he was just hitting seams north south a lot last year. Now, of course, it's hand in hand with the blocking,
Yeah.
but I do think he's seeing ghosts to some extent.
Eric, man, he was 18 of 46 today. Like, they can't run the ball. This was the best rushing attack of all time, nearly. He's gone from 2,000 yards to 2 yards a carry every week. Like, it's bizarre. And yeah, I got a lot of hate on that tweet saying about the run game's a problem because the pass game is obviously the problem. But I feel like we all know what the pass game problems are, and half the people with a brain knows how to fix it. Like more throws outside a number, more down the field shots. But the run game to me is just mad. Like we named the channel Eagles Pimple because the Eagles used to run Pimple all the time, and they ran it once last week and it worked. And I was like, that's cool. You just don't. When do you see Jurgens like pulling anymore? I'm watching Jurgens just like running into big defensive tackles, getting beat up. Like Steen's not Becton, so you can't just expect him to maul guys. Like I don't know. The run game is bizarre. We're gonna lose structure unless we get some structure back to the show. We're gonna go on forever. So how the hell do you want to do this, Eric? Do we do offense and defense? Do we do half and half? Like neither of us are hosting of the post game, as people can tell. This is just one of those days. Like screw the script. But let's
I
come up
don't
with
think
some
anyone
way of
cares.
talking. Oh my
Okay,
god.
okay.
Should we just
So
should we
yeah,
just do the
why don't
offense?
yeah, let's talk offense. So just piggybacking off of what you just talked about, um, they need to get the run game going again. Like, yeah, they took the governor off the passing game, they're successful, but you can't just depend on that every week. Everything's married. You talk about this a lot of times, and I read your articles and your videos where you want to marry the run and pass game together. And last year, like, maybe I don't think they did a tremendous job of that, but there were, with the zone reads and the quick stuff, there was, in my opinion, a better marriage of that. Not that the bar is that high this year. Do you have any thoughts on that overall, and maybe what can they do to open up their run game more?
Yeah, so it's really tricky, isn't it? It's like a philosophical thing. Do you want your pass game, and you don't want a pass game that relies on the run game because then that causes you huge problems when you can't run the ball. So the two have to be independent to an extent. But just watch the Rams, man. Like I tweeted this, like it's like a coaching staff of adults versus kids. The way the Rams run game and pass game is tied together is so good. Trying to predict what they're running when they're under center is near on impossible. Like Puka can come inside and block the C gap, and then he can release from the C gap. They run motion, but then they do actually hand it to the receiver. So you've got to respect it. They're so clever. And the Eagles, they'd literally feel like would go under center of a fullback, and the whole world knew it was a run. Like, I think the first step of fixing the run game is just stop it being predictable. So at least if you run from the shotgun, you instantly stop it being predictable because there's no way defenses can key on it. Second thing you do is you start running the QB more. And I get it, but the Eagles are lucky to be 3-0. Like, let's be real. And I get that you don't want your QB taking hits. He had 9 carries today, but I'm guessing, 3 tush pushes? So 6, 5 total. Like, maybe 1 scramble as well. So 4 or 5. Like, I think you need to run him more than that. I like Hurts. I've always liked Hurts as a QB, but if Hurts doesn't run the ball, he's not Stafford. He's not going to be a top 5 QB if he doesn't run the ball. Like, you're going to need him to carry the ball, and he's a big guy. He seems to be able to take hits. So I think first step is go back to shotgun. I think second step is involve the QB, and then just run some more goddamn concepts. Like, where's counter? Where the hell is QB counter bash? Like, seriously, the numbers on QB counter bash the last few years, and this is not just me saying like it's a good running play. There was a study about 2 years ago that somebody did. I should remember his name, Matt someone. I'll find it during the pod, and he basically sent me his whole study. He broke down every single running play, and I ended up writing about it.
Was it
over
Matt
BGM.
Polsky?
It may have been. I will find it. And long story short, this is a couple of years ago, so it's not this. It might be a year or two ago. But the numbers on QB counter bash were like insane, like just unbelievably high. And I don't think they've ran it. Like, so I don't get it. I don't know where that's gone. But QB run game has to be involved, and then we need to run more. It can't just be inside zone, outside zone. Like, there just has to be more stuff. Because it's so basic. It's so basic. And I don't think Barkley... I think you're right. Barkley's more jittery. But I think he's more jittery because he's getting hit so far, like, early on. If you compare us to the Rams today, did it not feel like every time the Rams ran in the first half, there was like 5-6 yards of push? And then when we were running, there was just nothing there. It just didn't feel like there was anywhere to go. And yeah, it's a good comment about it's hard to marry the run game when you don't run play action. Yeah, it is. It makes it harder. Like if you run QB counter bash, then you can start running like some counter RPOs. You can start running some counter with a bubble screen. Like you can, and the pin pull stuff. You can start pulling guards and then faking it and throwing it the other direction, like we did the first play of the game, week one. Like that's how. There are things you can do, but it's weird, Eric, because Stoutland's still here. Like they've changed OC, but Stout's the run game guy, isn't he? It's like his actual title, isn't it? It's like run game coordinator or whatever. Like, why would he suddenly just go? Do you know what? I've been a shotgun running game for the past like my whole career, basically since Hurts has been here. Now all of a sudden, I want to completely change the running game. Like it feels like it's come from elsewhere, which is weird because it's Stoutland. Like we know the Eagles run game, so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think even going beyond like down distance personnel formation tendencies, there's people who have talked about maybe they have even body language tells where
Yeah.
depending how Hertz is standing, and you'll see it like if Saquon and Hertz are even with each other, drop back pass. And then when Saquon's like half a yard behind him, oh, they're handing it off. And I gotta look to see if this is like a hard tell on film. But you can just see the Rams are teeing off. You're saying there's no room to go because the linebackers are coming down like they know for sure what's going to happen. So you got like where's like you said that hard run action, and then boom, you've got a concept that you're hitting like a glance route behind the linebackers. It just seems like the menu, like you mentioned, it's small. It's not just in the pass game; it's in the run game too. They got to open it up. And you asked on Twitter, you said, "Does anyone have that clip of Hurts yelling over the sideline?" Did you see it?
Yes, I did. It
Okay, what do
felt
you
a little
think?
bit.
What's your read on that?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Players get emotional. Players can say like, they can be shouting in celebration. There could be a guy over there. It could be a play call that someone recommended, and he's like shouting like, "Yeah." But to me, it felt a little bit pointed. Hertz is very, very calm all the time. I think he played exceptionally well. I mean, I'm reading this. This is from Devin Jackson. Since falling behind 26-7, he went 16 of 23 for 206 yards and 3 TDs. Like, I think we're similar on Hurts. I don't think he's like top four. I don't think he's as good as some fans say. But I also think some of the comments like, "Oh, the Eagles passing game is just so basic because it's Hurts," I think is just not true because I've seen him do a lot more. Like the idea that Hurts can only run 2 by 2 is just, I think it's like it's a bit of an insult to him, really, the way some people talk about him in the past game. Like I know he can throw a beautiful down the field shot. I think his comeback throws are really, really good. His deep out throws are really, really good. Um, so yeah, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think there's a little bit of spice in that shout to the
Well,
sideline?
in the second half, they were forced to attack, right? Just because of how everything was going. And you saw what you saw at the end of last year, the decisive hurts. And I think it really started to show up in the Steelers game last year. They came out in the first half and he's dicing them and he goes, "Is that what you wanted to see?" And then obviously into the NFC Championship and Super Bowl. So it's there. It's just easy to forget it because of these long slogs of terrible passing offense. And it's a compounding effect because you're behind the sticks. I mentioned this in my preview pod, and I think in the article as well, which is the Rams, they kept teams to like long yardage second and third downs a bunch. I'm reading the game logs, and it's like third and 15, second and 18. Like teams are taking early down penalties, they're getting sacked, and then you got nothing. And I kept saying the Eagles need to get ahead of the sticks, and they were not doing that. And they're starting from their own 10-yard line. Do you want to get into the kickoffs at all?
Oh my god, I can't do special teams. I got too much on my plate to do it. Someone explained to me the special teams rule, and someone explained to me why we just gave two draft picks for a running back to do special teams, and we can't do special teams. Um, what is happening there? What's
And
going
like,
on?
and listen, I'm a fan of Bigsby's running, but everyone knows he has stone hands. Everyone knows he's a fumbling guy. And even in the clip they showed in practice, he dropped a ball on a kickoff return. So that's a problem. They've got to change it up. Now,
Yeah.
thankfully, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of teams in the NFL who kick this knuckleball. ironically, the Eagles decided we're going to start doing that because it was working so good in the first half. So I think they learned a lot of lessons in this game that should help them going forward. And I still can't believe that they did it in a victory.
Yeah, man. I'm just looking at on the play-by-play for this game. Right, this is the first half on first down the Eagles offense. So cover your ears if you're scared. First and 10, 1 yard run. First and 10, minus 2 yard run. First and 10, incomplete. First and 10, incomplete. First and 10, 1 yard run. First and 10, minus 1 yard throw. End of the half. You talk about like marrying the run and the pass. You can't get in any zone. You can't build off that. There's nothing to build off. When your first down plays are that bad, you're just fighting second down instantly. Um, and then how can you like evaluate scheme because you can't do any tendency. You can't get anything going. You cannot start like that on first down. I'm different to a lot of fans in that I've always been a believer, and it's weird because I like Hurts, and I don't see this as a criticism, but to me, this Eagles team is a run-first team. And people can like disagree and think, you can't pay AJ Brown, you can't pay Jalen Hurts, you can't pay Devontae Smith. I still, in my heart, believe that the way this Eagles team is set up to win is running the ball. And I just think if your run game is that ponderous and that poor on early downs in the first half, I think the way we're set up is going to be really difficult to win a lot of games. And by the way, I'm going in the second half, and first down is no better. First drive was a 1 yard run as well. Like, it's just. Oh my God, the next first down was a minus 1 yard. Oh, it's just. It's all. And there was a sack, obviously, as you mentioned. It's right at the start of the end of quarter two. And then basically it just opened up, didn't it?
So if you've seen this chart, I'll post it and I'll probably go back and do some analysis on this, where it says on which down do teams move the sticks, and it'll say, oh, this is your percent on first down, and ultimately, I think if you look at all four downs before this game, the Eagles were 70%, and their first down percentage was like 13, whereas the top teams were like 25. So they're getting first downs on first down. The Eagles, even though they overall were moving the chains good, like sixth or seventh in the league, they were the worst by far of those top teams on first down. So what if you're the Eagle? Like, it's, one of the things I was thinking about is Kevin Patullo can't get up there on Tuesday or Wednesday and say we can't execute in the blocking game. The town will revolt. So what
Yeah,
can he
well.
go up there and say?
Yeah, I'm fascinated to hear what he says about the second half. Because I think he gave a big speech, or not a big speech, but he gave a little quote about condensed formations this week as well. And I'm not anti-condensed, but you've got to have a purpose of doing things. It feels like the Eagles have looked at offenses like the Rams and gone, oh, condensed is cool, not realizing that the Rams condensed works because Puka Nacua is a freak. Like Puka Nacua, the Eagles don't have Puka Nacua. AJ Brown is obviously unbelievable, but let's be real, he's not the best run blocking wide receiver despite his size. And then the other two guys, they fight in the run blocking game, but they're not. Smith and Dotson aren't big enough. Like, so condensed for us is like, is it a bonus? When I watch Devontae Smith like spread out from empty and he runs that choice route, he seems to be. I think he got the touchdown on it today on fourth down. He's always open. Like that's where you want Devontae Smith. I don't want him standing next to my tight end. Like I don't want him blocking for a bubble screen. It feels like we like look at what other teams do and go, "That's cool. Let's do that," without realizing, I don't think we need to do that. By the way, our early down rush this game was negative 0.29 EPA per play. Rams early down rush was 0.16. So when you start that poorly, like that 59% success rate for them, 35% success rate for us. And we do like to run the ball in early downs. And when you can't run the ball in early downs and you get pushed back, it's tough. In fact, our early down pass is just pretty abysmal and everything. I think we were bailed out by some very impressive late down play today. Our late down third and fourth success rate is unbelievable, to be fair. And the Rams is really poor. I think that's where we won the game when you look at the numbers, is that even though we sucked on first down, we managed to get it back. We had some big third down completions at the end of the game, didn't we? Some really, really big ones.
If you think about the teams that are so effective in the condensed stuff, you mentioned it, like the wide receiver blocking. But there's another thing which is under center. So like the Lions from last year are a great team to look at. Their receivers and some like their tight ends were blocking their ass off. and they marry their running pass game beautifully last year with Ben Johnson, and that allows them to play condensed sets more effectively. You look at a team that's maybe majors more in shotgun who does it, like the Buccaneers. They had an extremely multiple run game, and they had Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who are tremendous run blockers. So it's a square peg in a round hole trying to do that with the Eagles. I almost got a little bit of this. We're trying to be the Tom Brady Patriots, where it's just like, oh, we'll just hit these little boop, 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 boop matriculator on the field. It is ridiculous to play that style with the personnel that they have and their strengths and weaknesses. Um, and I'm reading this book by Belichick, and I just feel like Sirianni definitely read this book, and they're trying to install all this, philosophies and tactics and strategies, which is fine and well, but like you have to understand what is going to work best given, your team composition.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? Like under center works for the Rams a lot because Stafford can't run the ball. So shotgun has no purpose for the Rams running the ball really because the whole shotgun gives you the read option basically. That's it. Like when you run shotgun play, you should be able to hold the backside defensive end, and teams are much better now at the backside defensive end not crashing down. Although Jared Verse got caught a couple of times really poorly today. So then the next evolution is will teams start taking advantage of you there? So they start running a motion man into you. You know, you can run split zone and you can run a tight end across the formation. So the Eagles' run game should live in shotgun. Like, let's be real. I've called for under center more in the past at times because I do think there's a time and a place. I think, for example, AJ Dillon looks quite good running downhill, and sometimes certain running backs want to get up ahead of Steen. And if you do become reasonably predictable, not to galaxy brain it, then yes, under center play action can have some success. But it was not in the first half. Like, you can't say under center play action is going to work because you can't run the ball in early downs anyway. So the whole thing's just out. The whole thing was out of sync. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the passing game in the first half? I mean, not that we saw
Yes.
much of it, but what the hell? I mean, didn't they have -1 total yards at half time or something? Like, this is a 3-0 team with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, and Dallas Goedert. To have that bad production in one half and then come out and throw for 226 or whatever in the second half, sort of, if anything, it shows you how bad the first half was because the Rams secondary is not that good.
Yeah, and I think it's like every time they're like, all right, we definitely need a completion here just to get things working. They're like, all right, we're either gonna run an out or a slant, and it doesn't matter how tightly it's covered, we're gonna throw it. And the Rams, they're just sitting on the routes. Their bad out physical corners are sitting on the routes. Their safety, Quentin Lake, like had the game of his life. And I was saying before the game, these guys are not good. They are not good. But if they know what's coming and like the Rams are bringing pressure and they're like, oh, we know the Eagles' answer to pressure is they're just going to throw these one of these two routes, then you can just sit and drive on them. Whereas the Eagles, when they ran a couple pressures and they're like backed way off and bailing at the snap, and they're giving up. I honestly, I gotta say they should have had more resources on Nakua. Like, I don't want to jump to defense too early because we want to get in the passing game, but
Yeah.
like it did kind of annoy me that everything that they did with Nakua was exactly what was on film. But I don't want to jump the gun. What is your thoughts on the passing game?
Yeah, so my thoughts on the pass game is that it just seems incredibly conservative early on, like, and then the conservative to another level of conservative, and it just looked like they were not willing to take shots outside the numbers or down the field, and it's just really odd. Like I don't know what to say. I think Hertz's strengths are down the field shots outside the numbers. I think we sometimes lose sight of he didn't throw well to the middle of the field. I'm like, yeah, but what? Who cares if it doesn't hold you back? Like, don't force things that you don't do well. Stick to your strengths and then build on your weaknesses, like, gradually. I'm looking at some of his numbers today on Next Gen, like second half, 7 of 9 passes, more than 10 air yards for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. And there's one in the middle to Dallas Goedert. More of a seam. I wouldn't call that middle because it's more of a seam ball, wasn't it? I think that might have been 4 verts and the Rams just only had 3 defenders back. It was weird. They didn't really show us a good highlight of it. Annoyingly, don't know how the hell these companies don't show replays of big plays still. But it was just the first one, wasn't it? The first start in the start of the second half, they just threw it down the field to AJ Brown. It just looked like a slant and go. One on the outside. And the thing about when you play condensed sets as well is you lose the ability to run those outside the number throws because it takes too long to get out there. I want AJ Brown like spread out wide. I want him far out. I want him like Hurts is really good there. If you look at Hurts' down the field numbers today in like the little next gen box, they're all like quite wide on the sideline. Like that's where he does his dirty work. So I don't want AJ Brown condensed. Um,
Real
I
quick
on the
on
film
that.
preview apps.
Real,
Yeah, sorry,
real
I
quick on
wrecked
that.
Emmanuel Forbes as well. Like that, how they didn't do that till the second half, and I'm not like you, Eric. I think we covered the preview really well the last few weeks. Like I think you've got the stats and you've got all the film breakdown, and I use yours massively to build my own as well. But I was watching the Rams, and I'm just watching like their plays they're giving up this year, and it's like, oh, it's Emmanuel Forbes. Oh, it's Emmanuel Forbes. Oh, it's Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, the Eagles in the first half are like, no, like what? Football's not that hard. Find the idiot and target him. Like that's what they did. And we won't get into defense yet, but that's what they did on the last drive, which we'll talk about later on. They found the backup, and to be honest, if they get pass interference, we probably lose the game because Bennett doesn't have his head turned around. But they found the weakness and went after it. And in the first half, we were like, no. It's almost like you mentioned the Brady thing. It's quite good. Almost like philosophically, like we do our thing. We win our way. We don't need to look at their weaknesses. Like we want to do this. And then second half was like, actually, there's an idiot outside who can't cover, and we've got AJ Brown. Go ball, come back, deep out. That's it. Forget variety. Just run those three things because Forbes can't cover him. So, sorry, what were you going to say before I went off the tangent about
Oh,
Forbes?
um, I think I was just gonna say. I'm not. I don't quite remember, but
We were talking about Forbes being poor, and
oh
the
yeah,
start and
that's
go in
right.
the
That's
second
right.
half.
So you mentioned that a lot of things that benefit the Eagles when they put AJ Brown out wide disappear when he comes into condensed sets. And one of the major parts of that I want to highlight is the safety. They give themselves away if they want to help over the top on AJ Brown. Then you have so much more space if you want to work someone across the field because they're busy trying to help over on AJ. So it's either like, oh, I got one on one. It's a mismatch against any corner in the league other than like Patrick Surtain. Otherwise, now I occupy another defender. Okay, now I can get something going in the run game. Maybe a QB in the run game. And maybe I run someone across the formation where the safety is too busy with. Like, it's a compounding effect. But when you put them inside, you lose all that. And it is bizarre. Like, what was this comment here? The Eagles came into the season trying to introduce some new stuff. And I'm curious about your opinion on this because there is new stuff, but it doesn't seem to be stuff that suits their skill set, and it doesn't seem to be
No.
particularly creative. Like just playing condensed stack doesn't do anything inherently. Like after when you do that, you run a couple posts and crossers that you saw that like one time and it worked. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's the problem is right is that the Eagles have this weird thing where the film guys all hate us because we're a boring schematic team to watch. Nerds like me can watch McVay's offense and like, oh my god, this is fun. McVay's also terrible at game management and stuff, which is why they don't win as much as they should. So, but the thing is, right, is that the Eagles are just so talented on offense. And every week we say this, but they're probably talented than nearly every defensive team they play. Like, realistically, there aren't many teams in the league who can live with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Jalen Hurts, and Saquon Barkley in this offensive line when they're going. So I don't really feel like they need to do a lot of great things schematically. Like, I would love if you ran a sim, if you could like run a hypothetical situation where you said every time we play split safety, run it, and every time we play single high, throw it, and like how successful they'd be doing that because it's so obvious and it's so simple. But sometimes you don't need to be that good. Like you don't need to be schematically like when the Eagles go empty and run QB draw like every team in the league can. Like you don't have the numbers. If you're going to play split safety against empty, you simply don't have numbers in the box. Like you can run the same play 15 times a game if you want. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful with it. But I feel like the Eagles have just like tried to do maybe too much stuff, and I think that's right. They tried to introduce new stuff. It's not just new stuff. The offense has looked completely different the first 2 weeks when it did last year. Like some stuff's been similar, but the condensed stuff was not a thing last year. The under center pistol stuff was nowhere near as heavy as it was. Like the under center run game the past 2 weeks and pistol running game numbers were nothing like they were last year. Jalen Hurts was a huge part of the QB run game last year. So it feels like they have changed a lot. And then second half, they were just like, screw this. Let's just throw it outside the numbers for AJ Brown and run Jalen Hurts again. And I know that sounds incredibly simplistic, and I can't wait to hear what they say afterwards when they
It
ask
looked like the
Sirianni and stuff
Commanders
because
game. It like the way they attacked. It started to
yes,
look more. Does that sound fair characterization to you?
yeah, what in the playoffs when we all got um, or as in because they had a game last year, didn't they? Are you talking about the playoffs Commanders game? As in when they started
Yeah,
to turn it
yeah.
around?
The only thing that
Yeah,
was
it all
missing
clicks, didn't it?
in the Commanders game, they hit a bunch of those like easy kind of like hook routes to Goddard in like the seam
Yeah,
area, and that is gone from the offense. Like where
yeah.
are the easy completions seem to be gone.
A really easy way of analysing a scheme, and this is very, very simplistic, but when you watch, I know Red Zone only shows the highlights, but watch other teams and just see how many easy throws there are. Like how many guys are just wide open. The Eagles' offense in the first three quarters felt like everything was so hard. So hard. And that's like a part of a job of a coach is to get guys open. And we don't seem to be able. Even like the drops, we had some tough drops in this game. They were frozen in the middle of the field, like Devontae had one. But they're tough. They're hard catches. They're like guys draped over his back and he's diving low. It's like every throw to the middle of the field. We had one, obviously, the PI, the flag, because the hospital pass, which I think was a flag, to be fair. I think the guy probably could have pulled out a little bit earlier. But like, it's also hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, the windows are so small. Whereas you watch some other teams play and you're like, oh, he's wide open. Oh, there's a guy like wide open. And we just don't seem to ever get that. Like, even the touchdowns, it's all condensed. It's all hard. Everything feels like they've got to be really precise. And it feels like for 2 years, really, the Eagles' talent has basically taken their coaching staff further than it should have. And it feels a little bit like, and that's still the case.
Well, okay, so let's just break it down like tactically. Man coverage, you get wide open if you rub a player off, right? Or double move kind of deal. Against zone coverage, there's two major ways. One is you overload a zone, so you have
Yeah.
too many routes that, like, let's say you just have two zone defenders over to the right side, one short, one deep. Well, if you have routes that are developing at different times at different depths, one guy's going to be stretched too thinly and he can't cover everything. Uh, Now, I have a criticism. Oh, also, I want to mention, like running across the field, you can get guys
Yeah.
running wide open, which the Eagles don't seem to have that. And it used to be a criticism, like Eagles don't have crossing routes, and I thought that was actually a fallacy last year. Like you could see it, they just weren't targeting them. Then started coming out this year, you just didn't see it. Um, so I think also some of those like tertiary like receiving threats, they're bad. They don't run their routes with conviction. They're not grabbing zone defenders the way they should be. They know they're not going to be targeted. And it is actually embarrassing from Chris Shula that they gave up what they gave up in the second half there. Like it looked like they were desperate even though they were up like 20 points and they're letting the AJ cook on the outside and I'm like, why
Yeah.
are you doing that? And then they're like trying to amazing blitz pickups. I want to give credit, and then we'll move over to defense. But did you have any thoughts? Like they had terrible in the first half, getting Hurts killed, take Pryor out. All of a sudden, they're picking up everything.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? And by the way, I'll go back to that thing against zone as well. The other thing you can do, which we don't do very well, and this is probably part of a Hurts thing, so I will give the coaching staff some excuse, is high low. You high low the linebacker. You run a concept shallow and then you hit him behind, and the Eagle spacing just isn't good enough to do that. Like I don't really know why. You commented on next gen's like one of those little next gen graphs, didn't you, during the game about a mesh variant, and they sort of half. I think the idea is running. It's like a whatever you call it, like a shallow drive, like a run a shallow crosser or a mesh or whatever, and then there's like a deep dagger in behind it, and it's not Hurt's best throw, so I'm not going to kill the coaching staff for it. But you look at it, and it's just so easy to pick up. Like there's nothing across the middle of the field. Like that, there's just not an easy throw over the middle. And I think that they have to work on that. Like that they have to get some semblance of like a high low into this offense. I think they had there was one to Devontae Smith they did in this game, didn't they? Where they managed to get him over the top, but it took forever. The pass, I mean, Greg Olsen did a good job calling out how long it took the plays to develop. I think Hurts has to
Right.
literally move to his left and wait and wait
It
and
was like
wait.
that
Yeah,
cheat motion and then into a
yeah.
dagger. And when
It took so
teams run
long.
that, they usually have like max protect on to be
Yeah,
able to actually run that. And the Eagles had like at least four out in that, so like they had to have great protection and good on them. But yeah, it's way too difficult. It did seem like there, especially in the first half, like I was baffled that there wasn't like more screen attempts, knowing that the pass rush is so vertical and aggressive from the Rams, and they had that one to Barkley. The execution was horrible, and I don't want to
yeah,
absolve the players, and on the defense too. Like there was really bad execution on a series of plays for the players. So it's
yeah,
both them and the coaching staff, and I think everyone's going to zero in on the coaching staff. But like some of the blocking was terrible. So the
yeah,
receivers, they lost at the catch point. Our star receivers lost to 180-pound guys at the catch point in the first half, right?
yeah, yeah. Something else I was going to say that I've completely forgotten. I'm watching the next gen clip of that play that you tweeted out the sack, and there's just nothing there. Like there's nothing open.
They did that against
It's
the
frustrating,
Cowboys.
isn't it?
Didn't
Yeah,
they not
it's
do that again? So Cowboys, everyone famously knows they ran essentially no man coverage. Third and
yeah,
11, they ran mesh, and everyone rightly got on them. Now they're in third and 8 against the Rams, getting dominated, and they're running that same thing. Like,
yeah.
is that not questionable?
Your man Kurt Warner hates mesh, doesn't he? Hates it because again, zone it's just got so little answers, and that was a good example of it on that sack. There's not a lot. There's not a lot there. It feels like a really hard work. Just really quickly before we spin over to the defense because Christ, we're going 36 minutes. The second half it was different. Like I don't even think it's that hard to talk about it. And even without Eagle 22, it felt like they went empty more. When they went empty more or they spread out more, they had Devontae Smith running a ton of these little choice routes where he could go in or out. They played way more 11 personnel. It was way more spread out. They played a lot more. It looked to me they played a lot more trips. They played a lot more like 3-by-1 sets rather than 2-by-2. And then basically they just got AJ Brown in loads of one-on-one matchups on the outside. They threw him a go ball. They threw him a couple of comebacks, and he made a few ridiculous plays. It didn't feel like too complicated to me. It felt like that should have been the game plan immediately from the get go. And once it clicked in the second half, that the offense seemed a bit like, oh yeah, it's actually not that hard. Because again, they're more talented. You previewed the Rams. Like if we lost this game and we played really hard and the ball didn't break our way, we can all accept it. Football's football. But you've watched the Rams defense a lot. They are not. They've got a really good front seven and they're really really creative and they're really interesting. But the back end talent wise should not be good enough to hold up against this Eagles passing attack. And for them to just literally do nothing for an entire half of football is mind blowing. But I guess all you can say is maybe they learned their lessons. But I'm not convinced that second half will be what they'll do next week. Like, I think this coaching staff is stubborn, and I wouldn't be shocked if they come out next week running more 12 personnel condensed because it's almost like, well, we're not losing now. But hopefully I'm wrong.
So, good comment here. Running empty has been consistently successful the last 2 weeks. But, and I'd love for Shane to get the stats on this. It's been successful for years. You go back
Yeah,
to the
yes.
Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and they destroyed them in empty. And I'm like, everything you want, it makes perfect sense for the Eagles. It simplifies the defense. It makes the reads easier for Hurts. It gives them more one-on-ones and favorable matchups. If they want to blitz, it's freaking obvious that they're going to blitz. Then you get +1 in the run game if you want to just run it with Jalen. How about this? Why don't you start in empty, have Barkley out wide, then you bring him back into the backfield and then run it? Like I don't understand. They don't even leave themselves enough time to like do a bunch of pre-snap operations sometimes. So yeah, I think all of those things are valid. What did you guys think of going for it on 4th and 6? I have a little more information on this before I get Johnny's opinion. So if you look at the fourth down decision bot, it said if they if they make it, 48% chance of winning. If they don't make it, 22% chance of winning. And if they punt it, 32%. So essentially, if they don't make it, 10% loss. If they do, 16% better. Obviously, it's not taking in the contextual factors of the game. Um, so, in that mathematical sense, it's defensible. it's actually different from what Sirianni normally does. I actually think he's more of a conservative coach, and this was an aggressive move, and he liked how the offense was moving the ball. The fact that the Rams offense was kind of being stymied in the second half and they could have pinned him deep, there's definitely an argument there. So I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's not. I sort of was like toss a coin. I didn't have like a really strong take on it. I'm normally of the opinion that just go for it. I'm normally like more of an aggressive mindset. But in that situation, it was tough. It was like right around that like horrible like location, wasn't it, on the field as well? It was like a punt feels like a waste of time, but 6 yards is also quite a lot to get. It's not like 4th and 3, 4th and 4. You can't just run like a little like RPO to like the flat or something. Like you've actually got to run a proper play. I wasn't optimistic about the Eagles convert, but I still didn't hate them going for it. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said this in the off season, which is if it's plus or minus like 5 or 6% either direction, it's defensible. Just because the
Yeah,
variance absorbs all of that, and you're not going to even have enough of those decisions in a given season to say like definitively if you were right or wrong. There are egregious examples like I could look at with Dan Campbell, but in this situation, I wasn't upset. It's more about just like what are you calling. That call, and I'll have to look back at it on the all 22. It wasn't clear exactly what the concept was. Um, I don't know if it was a design rollout or Hertz was just buying time. And then what I do want to talk about, and then let's get in the defense here, is the 2 point
yeah.
conversion. They got Devontae on the out for the touchdown, and then they're like, oh, now we're going to get him on the slant. Did you think that was a good play or just it wasn't executed? Or?
It seemed fine. I know you can't pick on Forbes every play, but I'd have gone back to it there. I'd have been tempted to go back to. I can't remember who they threw at on that play. That was like one of those like bang bang calls, wasn't it? Where it's like I didn't hate the play. I'm not sure I'd have gone to Devontae Smith on a quick slant on the red zone, probably, but I can't hate it too much overall
If
compared to what I
anyone
saw in the first
knows
half.
who it was on Devontae on the 2 point conversion, throw it in the chat. Um,
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Forbes because I remember thinking it
was
was
it
not
Durant
Forbes.
maybe? Could have, or Lake?
I
Maybe
think it
one of
was
those.
who's. Yeah, I seem to recall like a 26. That might be wrong. That's
Oh, that's
Kitchens though. He's a
Kinchins.
safety, isn't he?
He
If
could
it
have
was
been,
him, then
but
they.
they well,
Yeah,
weren't they
I
like in
might be
five
wrong.
wide? They might
Yeah,
have,
possibly, possibly. It just felt like. I mean, I almost feel mean for picking on him
no, they
so much,
weren't. They
but
weren't.
what
Because I was
what?
thinking, oh, maybe they're gonna hand it off here, which
Yeah,
I don't think they should have handed it off. How the running game was looking.
I would love to know what the numbers were throwing at Forbes. I feel bad for him, man, because he's yeah, he's just not good enough. Like he's not good enough at this level. They should have killed him in the first half, and how they only went after him in one half. Right, we'll be going too long, Eric. Let's talk defense because it was a weird defensive performance, wasn't it? Um, Big picture, like what did you make of the defense, like overall? I mean, obviously, I did a lot better in the second half. I did in the first half. I can't say I was. I felt like the Rams shot themselves in the foot more than we got it together. So I can't say I'm like over the moon with the defense in this one. Am I being harsh or?
Where were the edge setters? Completely vacant from
Yeah,
the field.
yeah,
It was bizarre, and we'll have to look at the film to see what was going on. Like what it seemed like to me is they kind of were playing this heavy technique where they'll crash the edge inside because they're getting gashed in the middle, and they wanted to condense that area
yeah.
every time. And the Rams were like, "Oh, surprise, we're going outside!" Like they just had their number on the tendencies there. And then, but then who's supposed to fill? Either it's a safety or a linebacker, and they weren't there. So it's one of these things we just have to go back and watch.
It's
But yeah, it was brutal. Run
It's worth
defense.
noting as well. They had problems with that last year, the middle of last year as well. They got it together by the end, but the middle of last year, they had trouble setting with the defense. So there was a lot of plays where we were all like, "Who's setting it here?" Like there were plays when like Josh Sweat would kick inside, and you'd be like, "Well, he must be coached to do that." So it's got to be the linebacker who's setting the edge. So it's just worth noting this is something that Fangio's defense had a problem with last year. I think everyone just said like, "Oh, it's all Bryce Huff," but there were problems last year setting the edge, and that was an issue. I think the two issues today were, I must admit, I again need to go back and see it because he did have some big moments, but I don't think Jalen Carter is at all Jalen Carter yet. Because people think of Jalen Carter as a pass rusher, but he's an unbelievably good run defender as well. And to be honest, a lot of the times I looked up today and the Eagles' front four were just getting pushed back. And I was quite surprised because I knew the Rams guards were decent, but I was quite surprised to see, again, without seeing the film, I can't comment, but I thought the Eagles' run defense was pretty weak. I didn't hear a Jomo's name once. Um, I don't think I saw him. And Davis obviously saved us all at the end, and he had that amazing fourth down run stop. But I thought their run defense was pretty ponderous in general. But you're bang on to talk about setting the edge because that was a real issue. So yeah, when we get to the film, maybe we'll be able to see if it was more. I think the Eagles' edge defenders are pretty good at setting the edge. So I would guess they were trying something funky where they were trying to get their linebacker to do it, or maybe even DeJean at points to do it. I don't know, but it didn't work, did it?
Yeah, and I'm really curious to look at the defensive film. I thought DeJean may have had a terrible game.
Yeah, I've
So
been bigging it. I'm
very
like you. I've been bigging him up so much this year. That's why he plays in the nickel because his run defense is a cheat code. But I'm with you. I didn't think he had a great game. Um, and yeah, J Rock's right. Jihar Campbell isn't as good against the run. I agree. And you saw Bourne blow a few up. But to be honest, it looked to me more like a defensive line issue where the D line was just getting pushed back. Like, forget who's at fault. Again, we haven't seen the film, so we can't comment. Just look at the line of scrimmage. And the line of scrimmage was going backwards consistently. Like, the Rams were definitely winning the battle on the line of scrimmage. So again, I don't think Campbell's the best. But I think it's just worth pointing out that I think that we were losing. We were losing the line of scrimmage, which is unlike the Eagles team.
Carter didn't make a single play other than when they had to bring in Bo Limmer as the right guard, who everyone knows is horrible, and then he got that pressure on Stafford. I do want to talk about this real quick. Ojomo. Here's the thing to note: the Eagles played Prescott, Mahomes, and Stafford, who a large percentage of each of those guys' throws is out in the blink of an eye. So I everyone knows Ojomo is undersized and doesn't have the mass or strength to be able to hold up in the run game, especially against combo blocks. That's obvious. But when he gets one-on-ones in pass rush situations with a guy who doesn't get it out instantly, he's actually really impactful. That just wasn't available today. They're like you said, they're getting blown off the ball. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Like, I think we're gonna look back and say Davis struggled tremendously. Carter for sure, Ojomo for
yeah,
sure. Pretty
yeah.
much the entire defensive line, which is shocking because that's not a bunch of studs. So I'm just curious to see why did it happen.
Yeah, me too. And I think as well, I think the thing about Jomo is, and like you, I've been a huge Jomo fan his whole career. I think there was a lot of people that were just like, he's Milton Williams. And I'm like, Milton Williams was really good, like as an overall player. And I think sometimes players have to, when they step up a role, it is harder. Like it was nice being Jomo because every play he was on the field, he was probably playing next to Carter or Williams. He was probably the third like issue for the defense to worry about. Whereas I imagine now he is getting a bit more. People know who he is, and they're not going to just suddenly put like a backup guard on him one-on-one and expect not to help him. So it happens. I don't worry. There's enough good film on a Jomo that tells me he's a good player. I think the only slight issue I have with his defense in general is, and it's why I'm hoping Zadarius Smith works, is I know everyone's going to call me a hater because I've always been critical of him, but like Nolan Smith to me is a really tough, good overall player, and so is Jalex Hunt. But we don't have top tier edge rushers. Like they don't win one-on-one consistently. Like they're not really good pass rushers. So if you're not winning up the middle and Jalen Carter's not at his best, all of a sudden like you've lost Josh Sweat, you've lost Milton Williams. If Carter's not doing it, you look at the pass defense and you're a bit like, oh, they sort of lack a really good rushing option. And Travis Scott about Carter, I'm not worried at all. I I I mean Vic Fangio is the most honest NFL coach in the world, and he's literally told us the guy is not in shape. Now, you can comment off the field, problem, injury, does he take it seriously, missed week one. I saw Fangio spoke about a number of reasons. He mentioned like practice being different, less hitting. Jordan Davis even came out, didn't he, I think this week? I don't know if you saw Jordan Davis said something like, I talked to Carter about weight a lot. basically like saying that if he want, like, almost like a jokey way. I think he said something like, "If he wants any tips, he knows where I am." Like it just looks clear to me that the guy is not physically there yet, and unless there's something severely going wrong with him, then I can't imagine he won't get it eventually. Um, yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but like Jordan Davis said, I tell him about my journey all the time. When it gets to that point, and I'm sure he's getting to that point now, and he wants to fix it, it's just a want you have to take with yourself that's important. Davis was talking about like not eating the sugar on the Peloton bike all the time. It seems pretty clear that they know about Carter's um, thing. Like it seems obvious to me he's not as fit as he was last year, condition wise. I'm seeing in the same article Sirianni's talking about it. And he said it's a work in progress for every player. I mean, I don't know, Eric, what you've got to add to that, but like I think clearly he's just not Jalen Carter yet, is he?
And I agree with this comment here, which is you can still see him grabbing his arm after every play. And I don't even know the extent of the injury. Maybe someone else who knows more can say something. If it's is it his hand or something farther up, but I definitely think that's an issue, and I do think conditioning is also an issue, and they're going to need him. Getting back to this real quick, I don't think this is necessarily a fair criticism because who was visible? Which of the pass rushers was visible?
That's
Like
my point
people,
about the edge. Yeah. Did Hunt or Smith do anything today? I didn't
no,
see Darius
no,
Smith, which was disappointing
both
because I
both
must admit,
Smiths.
yeah, yeah. I think we need I think we need like one of those pass rushers to get there. And if Carter gets there, then it's easier on everyone. Um, but I think pass rush is a little concerning. But I also think that with this defense, it's going to be a bit of a like it's going to take a bit of time. Like I know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was up and down last year, but they did literally lose Darius Slay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Milton Williams, and Josh Sweat, and the Kobe Dean's injured. Like that's like five starters. Like it's gonna maybe take a little bit longer. And John said shoulder. Yeah, I googled it. Obviously, he was injured before, but against the Chiefs, he's had a shoulder injury. So I'm not worried about him. The question is just how long it takes for him to be back to his best. Um, so I'm not sure how long it will take him to get there. But I have no doubt he will get there eventually.
And one thing that I'm going to be looking for is like when you get repeatedly gashed on in the run game, your pass rush slows down. So especially with the way
Yes.
Fangio's fronts play. Like even like on neutral downs, they're playing run first, and that's just not like you can look at it get off times. They're like a tenth of a second or more faster in obvious pass situations because the way they play their fronts, they're responsible for soaking up more gaps than like other fronts would be traditionally. And so that could explain it because ironically, a lot of the skill sets of their front are like gap penetrator type skill sets. Ojomo and Carter are both like that. Nolan Smith, like there's not that many pocket condensers. So when you are not firing off the ball and you're not a pocket condenser, a lot of times you just get stuck and that you can't like generate a pass rush. You don't have secondary moves. So I'm gonna look and see like why was it the case that they weren't able to generate pressure because there was
Yeah.
sometimes where Stafford like wasn't getting the ball out
Did
instantly.
you think that the Eagles blitzed more this game as well? Like, and I wonder if that's a sign that we did it last week as well, didn't we? We sent five more, and I think in Fangio's dream, he would send four if he could send four. So when he's not sending four, I think he's sort of like sending a message like, I don't have, I don't have the guys to just be able to rush four. Every defensive coach, especially like Fangio, who plays that style, if they could rush four, they want to rush four. I might be wrong, but it felt like they were calling quite a lot of pressures towards the end of the game, especially on the last drive. Which, whether that's a sign that they're not happy with their pass rush, I don't know.
Well, the thing that was bizarre, they definitely blitzed more than their average, not as much as they blitzed Mahomes, but why were they allowing instant catches over the middle to Nakua when pressures? Like that is how
Yeah,
they're going to get the ball. Like you should be honestly, you should be able to get a interception on a play like that. Like it's so predictable that he kept almost every single blitz he threw it to Nakua. And, and so
Yeah, I
like they
didn't like
got
it.
one
Uh,
time. If you
yeah.
look at their distribution of routes, Nakua before this game ran 27 in breaking routes to 8 out breaking routes. Only one time did they answer with the speed out and only went for like I think 5 or 6 yards. But every time they went over the middle, it was a first down. I was like, how are you not squeezing this route and driving on any quick pass that you know is going to come out? Because Bond's screaming through the A gap, and I give the Rams credit. Like, their Kyron Williams did an amazing job
Good.
blocking. So
Very good.
he
Yeah.
had a good game. Like I think he's a solid all around back who's not that explosive, but
Yeah, he
he
is.
played really well. Corum played well. I someone asked, and I'm a anti betting, but someone asked what's your one like lock. They ask me every week, and I told him Corum over 16 rushing yards, and he was over that in like 3 minutes. Uh, so maybe I'll still give out picks. They got
If you
one.
want to know, do you want to know my fun betting thing? So I don't bet either, but I was convinced today, based on my previews, very, very convinced, that Puka Nacua was going to catch a load of balls, and AJ Brown was going to have a monster game. So I bet on Puka +6, AJ Brown +100, but then to try and spice it up for like a freeway, I had Jalen Carter getting a sack as well. So that was the unlikely one. If Carter had came through for me in the clutch, I nailed the Puka. I think AJ Brown was like 109, Puka was like 8 or 9. For what it's worth, my Twitter is going mad because apparently Josh Sweat is absolutely wrecking the 49ers. 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. I mean, I think sometimes we've got to step back and realise what we've lost this offseason on the defence. I was like, I know I keep saying, but like Sweat, Williams, Slay, they were good players. They were very good players. I think the defence will take a bit of time to gel. I think they did okay in the end. I think the thing I didn't like was the last drive. I'll be honest, like you. I think we got lucky that Bennett wasn't called for PI down the sideline. I don't think it was PI, but because he didn't turn his head around. They love calling that when you don't turn your head around. And he got wrecked on that final drive, man. They just basically just sent 5, and Puka Nacua just like, right, okay. And I guess the weird thing is when you use Q to travel, then it's great. But if your cornerback 2 isn't very good, then then the other team's got 2 receivers, it's like, well, okay, we're just gonna ignore Devontae Adams and just throw to Puka Nacua all the time. Then, like, big deal. I'm surprised the Eagles didn't give more help on like Puka Nacua's side. Like, I'm surprised we didn't see more. Like, if they're going to put Q 1-on-1, line up someone else, like almost like a safety, like over the top. So whoever's playing Bennett or whoever can play a little bit like easier coverage, like inside out, for example. Just out of interest, what did you think on the Devontae Adams long touchdown? I mean, did you see any highlights of it? Because I was
Yeah.
surprised that was twice in the same game. He was on Reed Blankenship 1-on-1, and I was really surprised. So the view that I had, it was like a smash concept, and the Eagles, they looked like they're in cover 4, and Quinion sort of crashed down on the sort of short route, and then Blankenship was just 1-on-1 with Devontae Adams, but they already had a linebacker on the short route, and I was like, would Fangio not want Quinion to carry that and double Devontae? Like, I don't need 2 guys on the on the flat route in smash concept. Like, if I'm Quinion Mitchell was in literally no man's land. I don't know if you saw a replay of it, but he was standing literally like 10 yards away from the back from the receiver in the flat, sorry, and then like 20 yards away from Devontae Adams. He's just like marking no one.
Yeah, I
I'm looking
don't
forward to seeing that
know.
play again.
It might have been like a constraint play where the Rams had shown like this corner route on film and then he's trying to sink under it, but they just ran a
Yeah,
fade instead. And I thought it was good coverage, but just the masterful short push off by Adams
yeah,
at the last second. It was unfortunate. I do want to talk about Bennett real quick.
yeah. Go for it. He's your man. Defend your man.
I think we saw why he isn't starting, and his man to man coverage I think is pretty solid overall. It's he doesn't know what to do. They're going hurry up, and he's going Reed, please tell me what to do.
Yeah,
He had absolutely
yeah.
zero idea what to do, so you can't put that guy out there if they don't know what to do. And
And
that's
Adora Jackson can't tackle. That's a problem, isn't it? Even when his coverage is quite good, which I don't think he was a nightmare today from what I could see, but his tackling on the edge is really poor, isn't it?
yeah, a lot
Which
of
is a
times
problem.
like What I see is alligator arms. He'll try to like go for the guy around the waist, but then his body's not behind him, and a lot of times he'll just kind of get thrown off to the side. He misses the same way almost every time. I'd rather him do the Asante Samuel type tackle where you just dive into the guy's legs like a torpedo. Like anything other than just this like that, and you don't get the guy.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird. I think it is going to be. I said this for a long time. I think the Eagles' defense has probably been better than I thought it would be. In all honesty, I think they had a lot of changes. This defense is all about. I mean, you mentioned Bennett. I say this all the time. This defense is all about communication. If you think about it, you think about it in a dream world. Let's just talk match quarters, like philosophically. It's all like if X goes here, you do this. If he does this, you do that. And every single formation the offense runs, every late shift, every late motion, every formation is different. So as a player, you've got to know like if someone calls push, if someone calls under, you've got to know. You might even play it differently one week because they've got a different receiver. Like I think it's a system that takes time to learn. And Ja'Cory and Bennett joined when? Like August? Was it before preseason? I can't remember when it was. It was around preseason, wasn't it? Um, that's hard. Like it's really difficult. And I think as much as I'm not expecting him to be brilliant this year, I think we may, as you said, we may need to give him time. That's why I'm not on like the Benadoré Jackson like straight away, because at least I feel like he knows the system, and at least hopefully he's not going to have any major bust. And until then, you need to just sort of like we need to get by almost. Hopefully Ja'Cory Bennett can get right. But you're right. Like it's hard when you're not fully in the scheme and fully playing, and like they don't get many practice reps these days. They're probably recovering half the week. It's not the off season anymore. Like how many reps is Bennett going to get at quarterback two to actually really develop those relationships? Probably not many. So it's probably going to take a little bit of time. The Ringo thing's disappointing because Ringo's been in that system. Ringo's been there, and it just maybe feels like they don't think he's good enough, which is a shame because he should have a good understanding of the system.
A lot of people ask me, "All right, Eric, who can we go get?" And so I went and I looked at all of the cornerbacks out there.
Yeah.
First off, it should be said, this may be the most talent deprived set of cornerbacks, outside cornerbacks we've seen in the league history, because a lot of good ones are inside. And so those guys who were really talented, they used to be outside. And so a lot of teams, like their best corner is like a Dory Jackson. So there's no one to trade for unless one of
No.
these teams is like going to move on from like one of their like pricey veterans. Like could you convince me maybe the Browns would move on from Greg Newsome? Maybe, but they just beat the
Yeah,
Packers, so
someone who's
probably
played
not.
the scheme, someone who's played in the scheme ideally. And there's
Well,
not
they all
many
they
out
run is
there.
man in Cleveland.
Exactly, it's like the most different scheme in the world. I sort of joke about this because he's obviously not going to do it, but I did like genuinely think if he had a nightmare first 2 months, like the Darius Slay could be a legitimate option. Although it sounds laughable because I don't know if he burnt his bridges with the team. I don't know, but if it was going like really badly wrong with Pittsburgh, that was always in the back of my mind. Like, could there be some weird way that the two teams decide and he decides? But I think, and I might be wrong, I think he may have played better today. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I know he did not have a good first 2 weeks. And I
Well,
just
he was
wonder,
horrible
like, I just
last year.
wonder.
In the beginning of the year, he was horrible.
Yeah,
And then what I said at the time was, it looks like Slay thinks they're going to throw it to other people because, oh, I'm the lockdown and we got a bunch of rookies. But,
yeah.
oh, wait, no, they're actually targeting me. And then he started playing way better.
Yeah, he was when he got really good. He was really good last year. But then again, he's very old. But I'm with you. Like, I don't think they can improve CB2. Like, I think they might have to wait for Ringo or Bennett, or they'll just have to deal with Adore being average this year. Because I think it's all. I just think this defense is all about communication. It's all about. It's not just a scheme, by the way. It's not just like a playbook. It's like you have to understand what your teammates are going to do as well, when to pass it off. Every play is different. Like, if you're just playing cover one man, you can sign a guy off the street and just play cover one man. Like, you're just gonna say right, press him outside leverage, go. When you're passing someone off, like you got to know like when to go. Like there's just so many, and that's why it's a really hard scheme, and that's why it's very complicated, and not everyone can do it well. And look how many bad Fangio iterations there are out there. There's been some terrible Fangio iterations because it's just very, very hard to run it successfully. But the beauty is that when it works, it's almost unstoppable as a defense when you're like at your peak performance because you have answers to every play. But to get to that level, you need to have people that have been in the system for a while and are like really, really, really used to their teammates and used to the scheme. We're going on, aren't we, Eric? I'm going to call you Shane.
All right, I
It's
want to ask
20
you one
past 10
more.
here.
I want to ask you one more
Let's round up.
hypothetical.
Yeah, do it.
Well, okay. Okay. So if you could take, let's say, a slightly above average edge rusher or cornerback and add that onto the team, understanding the how much harder it is to get a cornerback up to speed versus an edge rusher, which one would you take?
I'd still go cornerback because I think because of this Darius Smith signing and because I expect Carter to get back to being Carter. I think when Carter gets back, I think Ajobo will suddenly be better, and people go, "Oh," and it'll be like, "Yeah," because Carter's now just like freakishly taking up two guys on every play. Like at the moment, Carter's just not Carter, so I would go cornerback. Yeah, Ringo's the killer for me, man. I just the fact he can't even get there over Adore Jackson, despite playing in this scheme for a while, is it's depressing, really, because it feels like that one was the one that got away.
Zach Bond's still amazing. Got to give a
Oh
shout
my
out to
god.
him.
Yeah.
He
What do
almost
you say
doesn't.
about the guy?
He almost never has a bad snap. That's how good he is.
He
It's
missed one
it's
tackle in this
unbelievable.
game, and I was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "What have you been doing? Missing a tackle, run game, pass game." Yeah, yeah. The player was just like always ran the ball, always ran the ball. Like even if it's a quick slant, he's on the other side of the field. He'll be like the guy that's like a yard away when he catches it, and you'll be like, "How's he there?" He seems like he sees everything happening. Just one of the most wonderful players, I think, for film nerds as well. I can just already know watching back tomorrow, it's going to be like, oh my god, he's everywhere. Like you just know he will be.
On that note,
Just quickly, Eric.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
yeah, you go. You
you're
go.
good. I was just gonna say the last thing I'll ask you is when you go to watch the film tomorrow, what's the first thing that you're queuing up that you're like, I gotta know this?
Probably, I would literally just like to watch every Hertz drop back almost immediately and just see formation wise whether they change dramatically in the second half. Like I want to see if it's literally like condense 11 personnel and all of a sudden just completely change. Yeah, I'm also fascinated to see in the first half if they had some better route concepts that we just couldn't see, or if it was just as bad as it looked. That would be the first thing I go looking for. What about you?
Yeah, I think the pass rush. I just not just the pass rush, the defensive line in general. Like, why were they losing at the point of attack in the run game? Why were they not getting off blocks in the pass game? Was it because that they're trying to respect the run? Because it like I know what I'm gonna see in the pass game, like guys just aimlessly running into like really crowded areas, and then Hurts roll and throwing it away. Um, but yeah, that's how. What were you gonna ask before?
I was gonna just say final point because I need to get out of here because I'm
Yeah,
tired.
yeah.
This game's killed me. I'm gonna sleep well tonight. Saying Nick Sirianni apparently ended his press conference by saying we've got a lot to clean up and we could have easily been on the other side of this. And I think that's really good because I think we can get a little bit like in our heads, like all the Eagles do is win, all they do is win. It doesn't matter what they do, and it's like no, that kind of arrogance comes back to bite you. I'm always process over results. The results are the main thing. The results are why you win football games. And Hertz's record and Sirianni's record is unbelievable. But the second you think you've made it, if Sirianni was to come off and be like, that's what we do, never any doubt, I'd be like, well, for him to say we could have easily been on the other side of this, he's basically admitting in that comment that he knows we probably should have lost that game. So I'm quite glad to see that comment. I'd much rather a head coach that does get that than think that was good enough because yes we won but it wasn't good enough.
What a meltdown by the Rams. I don't think Stafford played that well either. He missed a bunch of throws. So
Yeah, that Nakua miss was brutal, wasn't it? Was it first half or something?
right? Yeah, I mean
Yeah, Jonny
that Adams
completely
out
missed.
route he missed was brutal. There was several plays, so yeah, I'm just
Right, I think
yeah, I can't wait to
I'm
queue
also
it up.
seeing that the Bears have got 12.1 yards per play against the Cowboys so far. So that Cowboys defense without Micah Parsons isn't looking very hot, and that's the Bears. 12.1 yards per play makes the Eagles look worse. Actually, what's happened to the Cowboys the last couple of weeks makes our offense look far worse. That Week 1 game. Um, right. Any final thoughts, Eric, or should we get out of here?
Um, Stay tuned to tomorrow for all of our Twitters, Johnny, me, Shane, because we're going to be coming out with some great information with some film. So just stay tuned for that. What a win. Go Birds.
No.